Good afternoon and welcome back to Low Expectations in Public Education. As any of you who have been following this blog know that we've had some really good success through the use of FOAA or Freedom of Access Act requests to gain some information regarding the financial dealings of our district, as well as the relationship that we have with BZ, and it's been pretty eye-opening. What I wanted to do is just kind of look at a key paragraph from the Freedom of Access Act and then share with you the most recent Freedom of Access Act request, which we put in as a partnership, which I'll talk about in a moment. But if you look here, and if you can read on your screen, it talks about there's no initial fee for submitting the request. An agency cannot charge an individual to inspect records unless the public record cannot be inspected without being compiled or converted. They do normally charge for copying records. And although it does not set a standard copying rate, it permits agents to charge a reasonable fee to cover the cost of copying. It also talks about time for searching, retrieving, compiling, redacting confidential information, requested records, which makes sense. And it gives authorizes agencies to charge $15 per hour for after the first hour of staff time per request. Where conversion of record is necessary, the agency or official may also charge a fee to cover the actual cost of conversion. So $15 an hour, they're normally a copying charge. And the couple of FOAA requests we've had satisfied so far were pretty smooth, a couple $100 here or there, covered by a private individual. Well, due to that, over the past summer, a partnership had been formed, not for this reason, for many other reasons, which will continue after this work is done. But a decision was made, as we were talking a few weeks ago, about, wow, wouldn't it be great if one person wasn't carrying the load and we could actually pool resources through creating a fund through our partnership. And then, of course, have a number of partners on this project. As a former senior operations project manager, oftentimes you may have multiple projects with multiple partners, and so you loop that in. And so what we decided to do is we set our priorities through a number of different FOAA requests that we wanted to look at after looking at the information that we had and what we had discovered. So the original request that we sent was pretty straightforward, and we tried to make it as concise as possible. And what we're looking for is the financial documents for a particular Bank of America's Bangor Savings Bank account from March through October of 2016. And we highlight here what we're looking for. As you go down, you have copies of any warrant documents, payrolls, et cetera, and you can see what we asked for there, very specific time frame, and thinking that this would all be pretty readily available. And then looking at gate receipts. From what we understand, there's been a lot of talk about the gate receipts, and also from what we understand, there was a community forum, I think it was last Monday, talking about going to referendum to replace the field, although there's $1.6 million in unassigned fund balance. So we sent this in on November 27th, knowing that if you look at these timeframes here, once again, July, August, September, and October of 2016 would be included in the audit that had not yet closed and had not yet been presented, even though the deadline had gone by. But we knew November 27th before December 1st, so all these records, at least that part, should be readily available. We did get a response in which there was a typical response from our superintendent that gave us the knowledge that he was going to be looking at how much time it would take and what the estimate would be. So we waited a week, and then on December 5th, we sent in a follow-up, and we had actually followed up with Bangor Savings Bank. I think many of us probably have personal business accounts there. They're very easy to get a hold of. It takes just a minute. In reality, you can call them, you can send them a security email, or you can chat. It's very convenient. And we asked them a few questions about not this particular FOAA request, but the circumstances. If this were to happen, how long would it take to get a specific number of records? What would be the cost? We'd have a pretty good idea of that since we hadn't heard back. And then also looking at considering if the district is compliant with its own policies, then you would think that the warrants would be readily available as well. And we would really think that this would all be converted into digital documents as the age of the cloud, numbers, different types of software, what have you. Very easy to scan in receipts, deposits, what have you, and have it right there. So maybe you just download it into a zip file. So to help minimize the cost, we did want to offer that it could just be sent electronically to us. We didn't need it in a paper form, just something that we wanted to look at. So we thought, taking into consideration the timeframes for the bank and knowing that most of these documents are under our impression, if we were the record retention that we should have, we thought they'd be pretty handily accessible. The superintendent in the original response did ask for a personal identifier. We did not provide that. This is a partnership working on this. This is not just one person. And actually, I waited to make this entry until I heard back from the last person I wanted to talk to as we look at the different options that we have and really prioritize the work that we're doing and making sure that we're going about this in the correct manner. So we decided that just putting it to the partners is the best. That way, you know, that's just the way to go. If you want to know who is who set up Kinivia Partners, it's very easy. Just go online. That is me, and I'm very proud of the partnership of which we have created. So we've looked at the Freedom of Information Act request, and so we did get a response a couple days later. Apparently, this went in front of the board December 6th. Obviously, I was not there. And then here's the response that we got from Mr. Lyons. And remember, a reasonable fee for copying, reasonable set of time. Now, if you notice, the email right here is addressed, and it just says attached. It's not the most professional email I've ever received in my entire life at a partnership, but there we go. So here's what we have. So we have right here, and if you want to zoom in a little bit, it's the Freedom of Information Act response of, and then if you look at this paragraph down here. So remember, we're only asking for documents that aren't much older than, all of these are within the last 3 years. Normal record retention, I have that, but so they will go ahead and search for the requested records in accordance with the rules around the FOAA. Estimated cost to compile the requested records, $8,128.55. Okay, so this is going to take, and after receipt of the payment, estimated will take 6 to 8 weeks to produce the records that you have requested. So maybe we should have worded it differently, and we're still working on our official response because we want to make sure it's a good response that's specific and hopefully alleviate some of the burden that might be on the office. Maybe we were a little too vague about what we're getting. We're just really looking for what's available, not anything that would, you know, have to be created or whatever. But $8,128.55. So let's break that down. So if you look at normal copying fee, if you go to like a Staples, something like that, it might be 10 or 15 cents. It's just black and white. But at 10 cents, that would be over 81,000 pages of copy. At $15 an hour, if we're just talking about research, which is the authorized amount, that'd be 541.9 hours or 13.54 weeks. So if you break it down to the 6 to 8 weeks, it's estimated here, that's 2.26 full-time employees. If you break it down to the 8 weeks, it'd be 1.7 full-time employees. So pretty much one person for 8 weeks, someone else working for about 6.5 weeks to locate these documents. Now remember, you just call the bank and they have a system. They can just go ahead and send that to you. They can turn it around very quick. It's not expensive at all. And so when you look at it, it must be the warrants or the gate receipts. I'm not really sure. But in order to get access to those, of which remember, part of those are actually part of this year's audit. So a couple of things about this letter kind of states, as I read this, is one, when we're not very efficient, which is part of our policy, supposed to have efficient business policies, but maybe our financial house isn't quite in the order that it should be. But also, $8,128.55 for public records. I'll let y'all kind of just chew on that. So we do have a partnership. If you want to learn more about it, I will include the link at the bottom of this, at the bottom of the blog. But it is actually Kinivia Partners. You can learn a little bit about our qualifications, also a little bit more about the Kinivia Fund. If anybody's interested in joining our efforts and supporting our work, what we're doing here, we're calling this the RSU 22 project. Really was trying to keep it kind of a little bit quiet, but when we received that response, we just had to share it for you. So remember, to get the requested documentation of which we had here, which is we thought would be pretty easy to get. Bank statements, visa requests are turned around really quick. Copies of some warrants, we've gotten those from Visa. Those are pretty quick. And the gate receipts, that's something new. I thought that would be pretty easy. What is there, 30 events a year, maybe 100 events what we're talking about. So that's just cash. But I appreciate you coming and looking at watching us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But I do appreciate the support that we've already gotten with the contributions, the partnerships, the people we've been able to associate, all the advice that we've gotten as we continue to work on really figuring out exactly how things are operating within RSU 22. So with that, appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.